Hello and thanks for visiting my channel. I uploaded this video basically just to announce that I have the black background versions of my template all ready to go. I'm going to start the video off just by covering the stuff you need to know, the basics, just to get these working. And thereafter we're going to go into more depth on some other stuff, including talking about the plot style, the STB file, a little bit more. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go into options. We'll go to the Plot and Publish tab, Plot Style Table Settings, Add or Edit Plot Style Tables. This just opens up a folder that has all your plot style tables. And these two files right here, you'll see them at the time of recording this video. I have it posted on Gumroad, but whether that changes or not, you basically have to just grab these two STB files and paste them into this folder. So you may have done this already with the previous version of my template. The white background STB file, I haven't really changed it. I actually just renamed it, and just to keep things consistent, I just wanted a similar name to the black background STB file. So I named it something I just like better, but it hasn't really changed. It's just there. But anyways, just so it doesn't show up as missing, you'll have to do that. Just copy and paste it into this folder, and that's all there is to that. Okay, so next, and this only applies if you're using the AutoLisp, what we'll need to do is type upload. Now you can load all these manually in your active drawing session, but before you do that, just remember I have some warnings about these reactors. If you're not sure about the reactors, don't use them. And I have changed the revision cloud reactor. It wasn't working too great, but I'll get more into that later, or maybe I'll actually include that in a different video. But yeah, if you're not sure about these reactors, do not use them. They're 100% safe on my computer. They might just cause a conflict or not work or something on yours. There's AutoLisp is pretty safe as it is, but yeah, it's all I want to talk about that. But in my active drawing session, I just select all these files, which again are, at the time of recording this, available on Gumroad. I just go load. That adds them to my active drawing session. And now you might have a dialog come up. I'm going to handle that in just a second here. But anyways, we're going to go to our startup suite, content, add, and I'm basically already browsed to the same folder. I'm just going to select all these files, open. And be careful when you're selecting these. And again, if you don't want the reactors, get rid of them. But anyways, I've added all those files, so I'm going to close that. So the startup suite means that every time I open an AutoCAD file, it will automatically load that AutoLisp. Whereas loading it up here, it's only going to load it for this active session, right? So if I did that first step, it's only loaded in my drawing, and when I close the drawing and reopen it, all that Lisp won't be loaded. Whereas when you add it to the startup suite, the next drawing you open is going to automatically load all that Lisp, and thereafter it will again load all that Lisp for you. So yeah, that works great, but just be aware that if there's some Lisp routine that you don't want loaded every time, then do not add it to your startup suite. So anyways, you might have got that trusted locations message, and we're going to fix that right now. You go to Files, Trusted Locations, and you can see I already have one added here, but you go to Add, and then you click Browse, and that'll open up your File Explorer, right? And it would prompt you to select a file. So one thing I've done here, and I have showed you how to do this on my channel before, but no harm in showing you again right now. I've added a backslash with 3 dots after it. And you can see these files have that as well. Those are default directories that are already included with AutoCAD. But what that does is it includes subfolders. So if you have subfolders in wherever you store your Lisp, and you want those to also be trusted locations, then you'll just add something to the end of your directory manually, as I have right here, right? So just to summarize everything we went over so far, we've added the trusted location. Add this at the end of your file path if you want to include subfolders. We've added the 2 new plot styles. Well, one's new and one was just renamed. And we've gone through this process. And I'll just remind you one more time that if you don't understand these reactors, also if you have other reactors that you're using already, I'd only use these if you actually understand how they're working, right? So just be warned about that, but they work fine on my computer. The rest of this code it's very unlikely it'll ever cause you any problems. It's Autolist by nature is pretty harmless. So anyways, let's check out the print preview. Everything's working as intended. So now that we got the basics out of the way, I'm going to get into the more advanced stuff now. Okay, so in the files itself, I've left lots of notes. These notes might be in the Imperial version only. I just didn't have time to copy everything over and fix everything right with the different units and stuff. It's a bit of a pain. And I'm basically, for now, just running out of time. So I decided, why don't I just get this out and not worry about the little things like that, right? So anyways, there's a lot of notes, especially in the Imperial versions of these templates. And I've also included something called the STB key for the black background. And you'll kind of see my approach here. And again, all the notes are in here. If you read through this, you'll understand my mentality more when working with these STB files. Back to our template, you can see that I've put some viewport overrides. And with this, I highly recommend that you, when you're using the black background version, just adjust and tailor them to your needs. With the white background version, it's kind of like you can edit that, of course, but it's very much a complete system, where the black background version is almost like a blank slate. It's just a base point for creating your own standards. What I mean is that, I have this weird blue color for the text and everything, and that's more just to show you how all these plot styles tie together, right? So what I'm doing here is my color is a light blue that has a high contrast against the black background, but the plot style refers to a dark blue color. We'll go into the editor really quickly. So every color I have, it's named the color it's actually going to print as. So think of the plot style as your print color. Think as the layer color as your display color. So yeah, my philosophy is that more contrast equals a darker color on the final product, which is a plot against a white background or a piece of paper, right? So I'll go back to the sample layout again. You can see that in this viewport, I'll see if I can open the layer dialog without making too much of a mess. There's all the VP settings come up, so there's a lot more stuff to look at. But as you can see, the text, the VP color is set to yellow. My plot style is still set to blue. And I even have a VP plot style, right? So you have a lot of flexibility here. You can work in your model space and even your layout space with certain colors, and you can quite easily override those colors for when you plot. And that's why I kind of made these viewports with all the different overrides and different colors, right? So I'll just go into the plot preview again really quickly. You can see I overrode some of the colors in here to grays. This is the viewport that had the yellow text, right? So I guess what I'm getting at here is that the white background, it gives you a very much what you see is what you get system, whereas where you're working with a black background, I think user preferences really take over. So just as an example, if I was actually using this template for production work, I generally use the white background version now. I'd turn all my text to yellow. I'd have all the text a nice yellow color so that it stands out. And then stuff that represents physical objects, like let's say you're drafting a house or whatever, all the walls and stuff like that would be colors that match more what they plot as, right? So I'd have a lot of whites, light grays, dark grays, stuff like that, right? So that would my philosophy, I guess, kind of changes when I'm working with a black background. So yeah, just let me quickly summarize what I'm trying to convey here so we can move on to something more interesting. The text color is really just a placeholder right now, and compared to the white background version of these templates, which you can pretty much use as is, you can change them too, of course, and I encourage that. But the black background version, you're probably going to have to tweak it before it looks like something you want to use on like a daily basis, right? One of the good things about this template is that it is very easy to edit. It's really easy to change the look of it. I'm going to show you how to do that just in a minute here, but I'm just going to show you quickly one flaw I did find with the STB file. Now, if you really wanted, you could convert this to a CTB file. If there's enough people request, I'll show you how to do that. It's a bit of a process, but it's easy. It can be done. But anyways, I'm going to go to print preview. And one thing you'll notice is that the text on the bottom, it doesn't recognize the red text, right? This text is on my detail medium layer, and this one's on my text layer. I'm gonna go into my layers dialog. Text, the plot style overrides to blue, whereas all of these colors, the plot style is normal. We're gonna go into the editor. The normal plot style, it says it uses object color, right? So that's really important. And that's why I guess the STB file, it still works good with the black background, but it works better with the white background. And this might be one reason you might want to switch to a CTB file. It's because of that. So yeah, when you're overriding the color of objects with this STB file, you'll lose the ability to change the color of text within mtext objects. That is, unless you change the plot style to normal or the color setting to by object. But so far, that's one of the few flaws I found with using the STB file. There's quite a few advantages. So for now, this template's going to stay as is using the STB file. Anyways, let's start modifying the look of this template. It's kind of the proof is in the pudding, right? So I'll show you how to start changing the layers, the colors of this template to kind of make it your own, I guess. So start with the layers. Oops, not layer states, but layer. Go to annotations. Let's change the annotation layer color to red. Line weight stays the same. Plot style, I don't want it normal. I want to make it black. I'll click OK. Text. Let's make the text color white just temporarily. I'm going to change it to something else after. I'll change the plot style to normal. So if you can live with white text, that would fix the issue we just saw. I'm going to go to the print preview. You can see all my blue text appears now, whereas before it actually wasn't, right? And this plot result looks okay, if you like using white text, that is. But anyways, let's go back into the layer. Let's change the text. When I use the black background, I used to always use yellow text because it stands out. So this is kind of the opposite philosophy of my black background. The what you see is what you get. Whereas the black background, you know, you're not really working in a space that's reflective of what you're actually going to plot. So certain elements, I'll change the colors of them so they stand out. Wipeouts is one example of that. And I guess that applies when you're doing the white background as well, because you want to know where your wipeouts are, right? So I got as you can see in this template, I got kind of like a dark red maroon color for the wipeouts. Anyways, we're going to change that to yellow, but if I do my plot preview, I don't think this would win you too many clients. So we're going to fix that by changing the plot style of our text to the black override. While we're doing this, that's kind of a dramatic name for that plot style. I'll just go into the editor. If you do want to add a style, you just click here. It's going to add the style at the end of the style 73. As you can see, there's quite a few styles in this. And from there, you just edit all the settings. And when I'm going to go through the trouble, I'll just let you know that you'll see several plot styles that have but, spelled B-U-T-T, in their name. And that's just for things like center lines and stuff, just so they print more crisp and clean instead of having the rounded edges, because I'm finding that the center, a lot of the line styles, the gaps blend together with the rounded edges. So I'll cancel out of that. Click OK. Click out of here. I'll do a print preview. So far, so good. Well, we did lose our color override, but you win some, you lose some, right? So that's just a compromise. And yeah, if you did go to the CTB file, I think that's totally possible. And then you could just use the line weights of the layers to kind of override the line weight. That way you could use white, but with different line weights with the CTB file. But that would be for a different video. Okay, so next we're going to annotation hatch. Let's change that to, and here's where my STB key comes in. I want to change it to a light gray. So I want it to plot, I should say. I want it to plot a light gray, but I want it to appear a dark gray in my working space. So I'll set it to 200, 200, 200. And my strategy here is go to index color. Oops. Should have gone to true color. There we go. 200, 200, 200. To invert the luminance. So I'll change this to 22. And that'll end up being about 50, 50, 50. But I'll change it to 60. Just so it shows up a bit better. Maybe even. So remember, this is just changing the display color. This doesn't affect printing. Only the plot style is going to affect printing. So I can change this to pink or whatever, but I'll change it to that color. So I'll get out of here. So things are looking good so far. When I do work with the text yellow, I like my annotation objects to be like a different color. I've kind of gone towards the direction of either magenta or red. So I'm going to do my section command. I'm going to click layer. Or no, it's already on annotations. There we go. So basically, I'm just going to do a select similar and select all these blocks and put them on my annotation layer. So something like this is what I'd like to work in. I might even use magenta. So I worked like this for a long time. And you could even do index color. Let's see how a darker yellow looks. That might be a good look. Actually, kind of like that. Yeah, because then it doesn't get mixed up with stuff like my my grid bubble. Okay, so we got that. Let's play with our M leader styles. So for the longest time, all my multi-leader styles had a magenta override, because I don't really use the magenta for anything else. So you notice the arrowhead doesn't change. To fix that, what you do is, the easiest way is to explode the leader, double click. We're in the block editor. Change this to U by block. Same for my custom leader arrowheads. Getting ahead of myself here, but I'm going to do the same thing to to this by layer, by block. So if there's enough demand, I could actually create a script that does this for us. We'll change that to magenta. Remember, I exploded this one. So I might do that while not recording the video just to save you guys some time. I'll do the same with dimensions, dim style, modify, dimension lines, let's change that to magenta, magenta. I could use the dark yellow color too if I wanted, right? Anyways, we got that done. Let's go to style. Let's make our, let's do something kind of goofy. Let's do Comic Sans for our titles. Markups, we'll leave it as stylus, I guess. Extra small, we'll change that to stylus 2. Stylus is kind of like Comic Sans, but grown-up version maybe. Large, let's do So if you notice, the old videos on my channel all had the stylus BT style. So as you can see, I'll have to adjust a lot of this text, right? So we have that changed. Much of the look of the drawing is still going to be the same. Well, actually it looks quite a bit different now, I shouldn't say that. Remember that we could get our color overrides within our text blocks themselves, within the mtext itself, back if we could stomach working with the white text and setting the plot style to the standard one that does by object instead of having the color overrides, right? Anyways, let's go to our sample layout. And it's a bit of a mess. As you can see, if you do change... Well, let's fix that up quickly, do a good job, and just wonder why my text isn't centered. Oh, there we go. I think what we should do is just do a select similar. Luckily, I've named all these blocks the same, I think, so if I toggle that back and forth, it's weird how the text kind of went off center, right? But as soon as I toggle that, it fixed itself. Anyways, it's one of the many AutoCAD quirks you'll deal with throughout your career, and dealt with much worse, so I'm not too concerned about that. I do think I have to shrink the text down a little bit because the text size has got a bit out of hand there. Let's do the same with this. I'll do a select similar. Do 75%. I think we got to go a bit smaller. Yeah, so the reason I'm going through all this trouble is I just want you to know that you can really make these templates your own, and you can do it quite quickly. They're very customizable. That was one intention when I created these, is just give you a good foundation to go your own way. To be honest, other than having to fix all this text overwriting stuff and everything, it's kind of like this look almost better than what I was working with before. Okay, so between when I stopped recording and started recording again, I made some of the more tedious changes. That includes overriding the color of this block here to magenta, but it still prints. I changed, and I overrided the print color to black, I should say. So my reference bubbles now print black. I changed the dimension. I'll get to that last because that was kind of a little bit complicated, but I can explain it in just a minute. I had a little typo here. It said nbox instead of tbox. The command name is in fact tbox. I did try to change the width factor of the text, but I don't think it really improved anything, so I just went back. And yeah, so I just fixed up a few of the presentation issues, not all of them, but just to show you how quickly you can adjust your standards. Now, I wouldn't recommend changing your standards in the middle of a project on an actual project file. That would be crazy, but just showing you how fast you can really change the overall look. And this ends up being better because having the blue text with blue objects, that wasn't working out too good, but I left that in there on purpose just to show you kind of, you know, if your standards aren't working, they aren't working, and that's why you should take the liberty to change them if and when you feel the need. So yeah, just a bit regarding the dimensions. If you want to do this, what I have right now is, I'll explode it. I did the opposite of what I did with the leaders. I actually changed the color of this block, the Arctic. I changed it to by layer, because otherwise the color of those, I'll just change it back to by block actually. By default, it's usually by block. I'll go save the changes and close, or else you're going to get that. You're going to have the text be magenta. So if you did want them another color, you could, one, just override the color in the block, or two, set them to by layer if you want them to be the same color as your text layer. Okay, so I got a little carried away with the presentation, but at least I was able to show you how quick and easy it is to kind of change the look of the drawings. And between takes, I even fiddled with the title block a little bit. But yeah, so just as I wrap this video up, I'm just going to glance over the output in Bluebeam. I did a test plot. So yeah, so before ending this video, I just want to tell you my future plans for these templates. They're probably going to stay pretty much as is for at least 2 to 3 months. Maybe longer, maybe not. But I just find I'm floundering because I'm trying to read people's minds and figure out what they might want, when really the goal of creating these was just to provide a really good foundation for, I guess, you to build off of and create your own standards, right? So I feel like I've achieved that. There's other stuff I want to and also need to get going on. So yeah, these are going to stay pretty much as is for now, but that doesn't mean I'm not, I don't appreciate any suggestions or feedback that you might have. So leaving those in the comments or even emailing me is just fine. So yeah, so with that out of the way, just let me say thanks very much for trying out my templates if you have, and thanks very much for watching.